Hey vinyl community, Brian again. Gibson A9 on YouTube, and we're going through my progressive rock vinyl collection. And I'm excited about today. We're going through the letter K, and in the letter K there are two enormous prog groups of importance. Kansas, an American group, and King Crimson, one of the defining groups of the whole progressive rock genre. So we've got a lot of records to go through. I've got most of the studio offerings from these bands. So it's going to take a little while. Both of them have a bunch. So let's go ahead and start out with Kansas. Self-titled debut release from Kansas from 1974. Just a monster album. A lot of bands that made it big, you know, their first album kind of got them noticed. And this album has got some real progressive rock epics on it. Journey from Maribyrnong is amazing. Lonely Wind is a recognizable Kansas song. Balexis. The Death of Mother Nature's Sweet. Awesome album cover there. I forget, that's some famous painting from somewhere, but great kickoff album. Kansas being one of the major progressive rock groups from America, and most progressive rock groups came out of England, the big ones, and it kind of took off in the US with some imitation groups. So this was 1974 by the time they even got off the ground with Kansas, so that's even a little bit late in the prog game, but some amazing records they put out. Their second studio effort, Song for America, real cool looking album cover. First time they had their sort of classic Kansas logo here. There's the guys. Kind of an odd group, a split group. Kerry Livgren being the mastermind writer behind most of their progressive rock stuff. Steve Walsh, the lead singer, was more into like rock and bar boogie type stuff, so it kind of made for an odd mix. You'd usually have some kind of rock and roll type stuff that Steve Walsh was into, and then the prog epics from Kerry Livgren. But an amazing group, kind of what set them apart, their sound. They had a lot of great keyboard, incredible singing from Steve Walsh, excellent guitar playing and drumming as well, but the addition of violin from Robbie, whose name escapes me at the moment, but Robbie Steinhardt, that's what it is. Great player. Third studio album is a monster. This is amazing. You never hear anyone talk about this album, okay? You always hear people talk about the following two that we'll look at, but this is called Mask. And if you're a progressive rock guy, this is absolutely amazing album. Icarus, Born on Wings of Steel, is just a masterpiece. Real heavy. This is kind of heavy prog. If you're into progressive metal type stuff, you'd probably like Kansas, especially the early Kansas. But All the World, Child of Innocence, Mysteries and Mayhem, and The Pinnacle. Some real progressive monster classics on this one. So kind of an odd album cover there. You can see the guys, if I can get the glare off of here, the guy's face is sort of made up of sea creatures and stuff, but real cool, excellent album there. Kansas's biggest two that they're probably most known for, and these are prog classics. I mean, I would put these two albums up against about anything else, but Left Overture, and we're looking at maybe 1975 right here. 1976. So this is one that had Carry On Wayward Son, which you'll hear on, you know, classic rock radio. Miracles Out of Nowhere, Cheyenne Anthem, and Magnum Opus, but some just absolutely incredible progressive rock on here. A lot of people in prog circles kind of poo-poo Kansas because they had some popular hits on the radio. This is an amazing album, so you can find it in the bargain bins everywhere, so pick it up. The other album that they're best known for, Point of No Return, and I think it was just now we hit 40 years. They've been touring and playing this album in its entirety. If you get a chance to see Kansas on the road, go see them. They're phenomenal in concert. Awesome album cover there, but Point of No Return, Paradox, Portrait He Knew, Closet Chronicles, Dust in the Wind. Everyone's heard Dust in the Wind. The guitar player was actually going through a finger picking exercise, just rolling through some rolls on his finger picking, and wrote Dust in the Wind. So, but again, another classic album here. Just well-written songs, long, a lot of keyboard, awesome keyboard on there. So just excellent prog. Kansas put out a live set in about '76 called "Two for the Show." This is a great album cover there. The two cleaning ladies there sitting out there reading their Kansas tour program. But this is one of the first albums that my brother ordered from Columbia Record Club back when we joined in the late '70s, and we played this thing out. And boy, Journey from Maribyrnong, and I mean, I have this thing pretty much memorized, but this is kind of what probably got me into progressive rock, one of the main things, and I didn't realize it at the time, but amazing double live set. So if you ever see this anywhere, pick it up. "Two for the Show" by Kansas. This is probably the last. They were starting to get a little bit poppy here. This is Monolith, and I remember that's a beautiful album cover there. You see the kind of the wrecks of. I'm going to take this one out and show you the gatefold, but I don't know who did the album cover work for this, but just a beautiful album cover. Monolith by Kansas, and again, here's inside. So kind of a postmodern, apocalyptic society where the Indians come back, and I guess one of the guys in the band had Indian or American Indian heritage, but. On the other side, "People of the South Wind," "How My Soul Cries Out for You." Again, some not quite as good as other material, but some real classics on here. Monolith by Kansas. After that point, there started to be kind of a hitch in the band. Kerry Livgren is a Christian, and he was wanting to do more Christian themes and Christian lyrics, and Steve Walsh, I don't think, was down with that too much. He wanted to do kind of straight-ahead rock type stuff, so their work from this point on started to suffer a bit. This is Audio Visions. Boy, that's a cheesy album cover, and they went from such cool album covers to that. But anyway, "Hold On" is a great song, but again, maybe one or two great songs, and the rest of them just kind of average rock and roll type stuff. So the progressive rock influence from Kerry Livgren was getting squeezed out at this point. Vinyl Confessions. Play the Game Tonight. So Kerry Livgren, I think this may have been his last album. They had brought John Elefante on by this point. Play the Game Tonight's a good song, but again, not quite as classic as earlier. At this point, they had a best of set album they put out, the Best of Kansas. Really cool album cover there, kind of a montage of a lot of their other album covers. That's a good set if you want to get an introduction to what Kansas is all about. This is good, but it doesn't have a lot of their longer stuff, and their longer prog epics are what I really like about them. Kansas Power came out in 1986, sorry. And by this time I believe Kerry Livgren had left. So Steve Morse had come on to play guitar on this album, so some good guitar work. Steve Walsh, Steve Morse, Billy Greer on bass by this point. Still Richard Williams, the guy with the eye patch, on guitar, phenomenal guitarist, and Phil Ehart, as always, on drums. So pretty good, but again, a different sound, not really violin-oriented prog. So that's Kansas. Just, again, some amazing music. Their first album, Mask and Left Overture and Point of No Return, would be three prog epic albums that I would recommend. Okay, so moving on, in the K's, next big K group is probably one of the groups that could be considered one of the founding groups of progressive rock, King Crimson. You talk to anyone that likes prog and they'll know King Crimson. So starting it off would be probably one of the top prog albums of all time, if not the top. Completely bizarre album cover. This is In the Court of the Crimson King from 1970, maybe. Let me show you that. This is an original, not great condition, but an original American Atlantic pressing. That's some wild stuff right there, but just an incredible album. Greg Lake, who later went on to be in Emerson, Lake and Palmer, singing on this album. Peter Giles, Michael Giles on drums, Ian MacDonald, the great saxophone player on this, and of course Robert Fripp, the quirky Robert Fripp, but genius guy on guitar. The songs on here are just amazing. 21st Century Schizoid Man is amazing, hard prog. The rest of them are kind of soft and just beautiful songs with incredible mellotron passages. I Talk to the Wind, Epitaph, and Moonchild are just amazing, almost folk with mellotron, if you will. But In the Court of the Crimson King, an absolute classic. This is a copy that I picked up in France, I believe. Yeah, this is an island. This is an island pressing, European pressing of that. Their second album, some people pan it for being too close to their first album, but I'm saying if your first album is so awesome, why would you not want to be close to that? This is one of my favorites that King Crimson ever did, In the Wake of Poseidon. And this is from, this is a French copy here actually. Let me get my American copy, I think it may say on the back, but I think that was 71 maybe. Just an amazing album, very similar to In the Court of the Crimson King. Pictures of a City is just an epic prog song in my opinion, just up there, probably one of my top 10 prog songs of all time. But this is amazing stuff, and the fact that it may be derivative of the first album is absolutely fine with me. Just top-notch sounds on that album. King Crimson went through a lot of changes, a lot of different lineups, and Greg Lake actually left after recording In the Wake of Poseidon. He left the band, and so their third album, which is Lizard, this is actually an European pressing of Lizard with the sort of shiny cover on it, but I think John Anderson actually hosted on a song, on this one song on this album. But Greg Lake had departed, I think, by this point. But Lizard is a lot different sound to it, very experimental. King Crimson always was willing to experiment and do musical noodling around in the middle of even a studio album, so very interesting. Next album was Islands. This is the American cover, kind of a white album with whatever that is, little colored bits there. The original British cover, which I don't have a copy of, has a scene of outer space with like a nebula or something. But and this is, I believe, a live album, Earthbound. This is kind of hard to find in good condition, but not the best live recording in the world. It's got live versions of 21st Century Schizoid Man, Earthbound, Groon, The Sailor's Tale. It's just not a great recording. Next studio album, again, another classic one, is Lark's Tongue and Aspic, which is this is actually this is a French pressing here with this maroon border. I think the American copy is just white like the rest of it. Lark's Tongue, and just amazing. By this point they had David Cross playing violin, Fripp on guitar, John Wetton joined as vocalist. John Wetton, of course, later on being the lead vocalist for Asia. So Wetton took over for Greg Lake in Crimson, and then later on when he left Asia, ironically they brought Greg Lake in to do a concert in Asia one time in Japan. So anyway, Bill Bruford and Jamie Muir on percussion. Just a really intense, complex album. Exiles, Book of Saturday is just incredible. The Talking Drum. So very deep music. Musicians tend to love this stuff, and people that just want a 5-minute pop song just probably won't enjoy this. But next album, Starless and Bible Black. Again, I think that's a similar lineup there. David Cross, Fripp, Wetton, and Bruford. Boy, some incredible stuff on here. The Night Watch, The Great Deceiver, Starless and Bible Black. I mean, just it's hard to beat King Crimson. So if you are into prog, or look this up and see if you can find it on the internet to listen to it. But just amazing. This lineup here is classic, and this album, this is a prog classic right here. King Crimson Red. Not everybody that's on the album is actually pictured on the cover. There's that Bruford and Fripp, and I think that's David Cross there. Mel Collins and Ian MacDonald also playing saxophone on here. John Wetton playing bass, and so it's Fripp, Wetton, and Bruford and Cross. But really an angry sounding album, very aggressive. Just a genius sound to this. The song Red, the Bruford's drums when he comes in sounds like he's kicking over trash cans. It's just amazing, just the wall of sound he's putting out. Angry drumming is what I'd call it. But Fallen Angel is incredible. One More Red Nightmare, and the song Starless is just one of the prettiest, most haunting prog songs I think that I know of. So great album there, King Crimson Red. Next is King Crimson USA, and I believe this is another live album here. Lark's Tongue, Lament, Exiles, Easy Money, 21st Century Schizoid Man. That copy's not in particularly great shape, but and this came out in '77, I think. In any case, the next one, this is kind of hard to find. So that was kind of the end of the second lineup of Crimson. This is a young person's guide to King Crimson, and a buddy of mine in college had this, and really cool album cover there. This is actually this is another French copy that I picked up over there. But this is kind of a collection of some of the best of Crimson, but this is great. A great collection. So then kind of the third phase of King Crimson came around. They kind of renovated themselves in the early 80s and came out with 3 classic albums, and you'll know them by their primary colors. Discipline, and I feel bad, I don't have a copy of Discipline, and I don't have a copy of the second one, which name escapes me. I wasn't quite as big of a fan of this era of King Crimson, but Discipline was a red cover, and then the second one was a blue cover that I can't remember the name of. Shame on me. I'm a prog guy and I can't remember the name of a Crimson album, but the third one was yellow, 3 of a Perfect Pair. This is a promo copy of it. And this stuff, again, was a little bit different. By this point, they had picked up, the lineup was Adrian Belew, Robert Fripp, Tony Levin on the bass and the stick, and then Bruford on drums. And there's a lot of people that just eat this stuff up. I'm much more of a fan of the very first lineup of Crimson, and then the second lineup is second in my book. But this stuff is it's just not really me. They kind of gotten away from the mellotrons and the kind of the epic sound, and this is more experimental sounding, and it's not quite my thing. So that's why I haven't been too upset about not picking up Discipline and whatever the heck the other one is. So all of y'all make sure to post comments on this video telling me what the blue covered Crimson album is that I can't remember the name of. So found this somewhere in a bargain bin. This is a 12-inch single version of Sleepless. So special priced maxi single promo. I don't know if this is hard to find or what, but I figured it's Crimson. I'll get 3 of a Perfect Pair. So this is off of that yellow album. I just remember them, the red, the blue, and the yellow, and whatever. Alright, so final group in the K's, I guess the only third of 3, is a group called Klaatu. And Klaatu is kind of interesting. I think they were a group of guys, three or four guys maybe, out of Canada. And when they put this album out, there was kind of they created sort of a stir because their sound was so well done in the studio, so tight, and the songwriting reminded people of the Beatles, and they didn't. I think the buzz came out that people thought it was the Beatles, so they didn't even, on the album cover, they don't even print who the musicians are. They just print the name of the songs. So this rumor got out that the Beatles had reformed and printed and made a studio album, and kind of on the sly. And they went ahead and let this free publicity thing run, and they got a lot of lot of sales out of that. Of course, it wasn't the Beatles, but these guys did an excellent work on this. So this is Klaatu's self-titled release, and it's good. It's almost kind of like Alan Parsons a little bit to me. It's just well done, well thought out prog, maybe with a poppy edge to it. But the lead song on this is called "Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft," and it was actually covered by the Carpenters of all people. So Karen Carpenter singing "Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft." Just bizarre, but this is a pretty good album. The second one I like even better, though. This is kind of a concept album. This is called Hope, Klaatu Hope, and there is a concept here, and I'd be darned if I could tell you what it was. But this is one of those albums that's got kind of a storyline, and I think they even spell it out inside. But 1977, Hope by Klaatu. Third album that I have by them, I think it's the third studio album of theirs, is Sir Army Suit. And I just got this recently, haven't listened to it yet, but I don't think it's considered to be as on quite the level of their first couple, but looks like it'll be worth a listen. So Sir Army Suit by Klaatu. Alright, that's the K's: Kansas, King Crimson, and Klaatu. So apologize for not knowing Crimson's Blue album, and I can't think of it, so oh well. That's a lot. Sorry it was a long video. Hope you enjoyed it. But if you are into prog and you're collecting records, definitely check out Kansas, and definitely you can't miss King Crimson. Certainly not the first 4 or 5 or 6 albums from King Crimson. They're just amazing. So hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll be back again next time with the letter L. Thanks.